I remember the weight of the iron gate more than the words. Cold, final. My son's fingers locked around mine like a vice. "Daddy, don't leave me here," he whispered. "Something bad happens at night." My wife laughed too quickly, too loud. "He's lying," she said, already turning away. I didn't argue. I nodded. Calm is a skill you learn when you've survived worse things than disbelief. I kissed his forehead and walked back to the car. The gate closed. The sound stayed with me. 6 hours later, my phone rang at a gas station 40 miles away from that house. A trucker's voice, steady, Midwest calm. "Sir, your boy is hiding in my rig. He won't speak. He's shaking. There's blood on his clothes." I don't remember the drive, only the arrival. My son didn't cry when he saw me. He broke. He sobbed into my chest like he'd been holding his breath for days. When I lifted his shirt, I felt something inside me rearrange itself permanently. I drove straight to the police station. I used to believe family was a firewall, that blood created boundaries no one dared cross. My father-in-law had money, land, a reputation polished by church donations and charity galas. My wife had learned early how to laugh away discomfort, how to normalize the abnormal. I worked, I trusted, I left my son where they said he'd be safe. That was my mistake. The signs had been there. Nightmares, silence where there used to be songs, a flinch at raised voices. I told myself he was sensitive, that I was projecting my own scars onto his quiet. Betrayal doesn't announce itself, it waits for permission. At the hospital, they documented everything: photographs, measurements, dates. The police officer didn't meet my eyes when he said, "We'll need time." Time is what abusers rely on. I stopped asking questions out loud. I started listening. I learned how influence works in small towns, who owed my father-in-law favors, which officers attended his barbecues, which lawyers drank his whiskey. I learned which cameras on his property were for security and which angles were conspicuously blind. And I learned something else. Money leaves trails, even when people think they've buried them. I hired no one at first. I watched, I recorded, I documented every inconsistency, every contradiction between what my wife said and what the phone records showed, every time she forgot where our son had been. When you stop reacting, people get careless. The first move wasn't loud, it was administrative. I filed for emergency custody, not on emotion, on evidence. Medical reports, the trucker's statement, GPS logs, text messages deleted but not destroyed. I didn't accuse, I presented. The judge didn't look surprised, just tired. He granted temporary custody pending investigation. My wife cried on cue. My father-in-law didn't. That told me everything. The second move was financial. People like him don't fear jail, they fear exposure. I audited every trust, every shell company, every donation that doubled as a tax shelter. I found payments to a night caretaker. I found NDAs signed by families who moved away quietly. Patterns are confessions. I handed everything to a prosecutor from outside the county. Jurisdiction shopping isn't just for corporations. The third move was personal. I met my father-in-law in his study, the same room where he'd lectured me about responsibility, about manhood, about gratitude. "You're making a mistake," he said, calm, confident. "So did you," I replied. I placed a folder on his desk. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. He knew. "This goes public," I said, "or it goes to court. Either way, it ends." For the first time, his hands shook. The arrest came at dawn, no sirens, just a knock and the sound of a life collapsing under its own secrets. My wife wasn't charged that day. Complicity takes longer to prove, but the divorce papers were already filed. By the time the town caught up, the narrative had shifted, quietly, irreversibly. Now my son sleeps through the night. He still holds my hand. Sometimes I let him. Strength isn't taught through distance. I think about that gate, how easily it closed, how no one questioned the sound it made. Justice isn't loud. Revenge doesn't need witnesses. It's methodical. It's patient. It's knowing exactly when to speak and when to let the truth do the damage for you. They thought I'd leave my son behind. They were wrong, and that mistake cost them.